order. You are with the Leon County School Board tonight. It is Tuesday, September the 11th. We're very glad you're with us tonight. Before we get started, I think we want to just take a few minutes to remember a tragedy that happened in our country on this day in 2001. I don't think any of us don't remember where we were on that day. I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing, and the world just seemed to stop. And the ripple effects are never ending. There was an article just this week about there are more deaths due to the toxic fumes. There is an amazing monument being erected in Pennsylvania in honor of the people who were so heroic to take down that flight. The wind chimes in their memory forever. So if we could just take a few minutes to remember the many, many lives in our country that were lost that day and the way it changed our country forever. If we could just take a moment of silence. Thank you. In honor of that day, we have a very special presentation today from the Leon High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC. I believe they're going to present the colors, and we will invite them to come forward. Thank you.
March on the colors.
Forward. March. Color guard. March. Time. March. Color guard. Oh. Left. Turn. March. Ready. Cut. Freeze in. Colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carry. Colors. Ready. Cut. Trail. Colors. Right. Turn. March. Forward. March. Color guard. Oh. Thank you.
At this time, Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes,
I'm going to ask Denver Lee to play a video of a ceremony that the student body at Leon High School held this morning in remembrance of that day 17 years ago. Standing here at the flagpole at Leon High School, where the student body just finished a memorial service to remember the victims of 9/11, which happened now 17 years ago. It's hard to believe most of these kids weren't even born, but that's why we do this, and that's why it's so important that we keep doing it every single year. But I'm so proud of the students here at Leon and throughout our school system. Like you said, I can remember I was in the office right there on the left when the first plane went into the building, and we thought there was some accident. When the second went in, we thought we were under attack, and all the thousands of parents that rushed up to our schools to get their kids out to keep them safe. It was just a tragic day for our country. But I think it's of vital importance that we will never forget that day as Americans and the impact it's had on the course of our lives and in the future of our country.
Yes. Thank you so much for the presentation. So we welcome someone very special with us tonight, Miss Ashley Campbell, who is our new student school board member from Leon High School. It's the Leon High School night tonight, so we're very excited to have you here with us on this very special day. Thank you for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I believe you'll be bringing the thought for the day, and then joining us up here.
Yes, ma'am.
Down by Miss Bowen. Yes.
Welcome.
We're
Yes.
excited.
Alrighty, so today I'd like to share with you all an excerpt from an article from the New York Times by Corey Klingenon entitled Saved on 9/11 by the Man in the Red Bandana. Wells Crowther, a rookie equities trader from Upper Nyack, New York, who died in the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001, became known as the Man in the Red Bandana for the handkerchief he wore as a protective mask while assuming the rescuer's role in the South Tower before it collapsed. He is credited with helping at least 10 people escape the tower in several trips up and down stairwells before perishing alongside a group of New York City firefighters. As a little boy, Wells Crowther followed his father's lead as a member of the local Empire Hook and Ladder Company No. 1 in Upper Nyack. By age 7, he was helping clean the fire trucks. By 16, he became a junior member and gained full firefighter status at 18. After attending Boston College, Wells Crowther went to work for Sandler O'Neill, an investment bank, and was working on the 104th floor of the South Tower when United Airlines Flight 175 hit the building. Eyewitnesses recount an unnamed rescuer, a cool-headed office worker who appears in the sky lobby on the South Tower's 78th floor. A mysterious man appeared who managed to locate the only passable stairwell and began marshaling down groups of injured and dazed people. They also gave a detail about the rescuer. He wore a red bandana over his face to keep out smoke and debris. 20 years earlier, Wells' father had given him 2 handkerchiefs as he dressed for church one Sunday morning, a white pocket square and a utilitarian red one to blow his nose. One to show and one to blow, Mr. Wells told the boy, who after that was never without a red bandana. He wore it under his hockey and fire helmets as a teen and under his lacrosse helmet while playing for Boston College. He carried it in the pocket of his business suit every day at the World Trade Center, and apparently he pulled it out that morning before organizing a group rescue in the burning South Tower on floors not yet reached by firefighters. One of Mr. Crowther's coworkers at Sandler O'Neill once teased him about the red bandana on his desk, and Wells had answered, "This bandana is going to change the world." So as we reflect on the events of September 11th, 2001, and as we begin this school year, let us remember that one small action, one act of kindness and bravery can change people's lives and change the world.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Ashley. We're so glad to have you with us tonight. And if the junior RTC, if y'all would join us just for a few minutes, we have a few items of business, and then we look forward to hearing a little bit more from you. So thank you. All right, board members, that brings us to 1.03 final budget amendments for 2017-18. So I do need a motion on this item.
Do you want to make the motion and then have presentation, or?
If we need a presentation, yes, go ahead. No, we can go ahead and have a presentation.
You guys can go ahead and approve those budget items, and we'll, once you
Okay.
approve the
Okay,
budget
Madam
items,
Chair?
we'll
Yes.
budget stuff.
The superintendent recommends approval of the adoption of the resolution found in board documents and to set an operating millage on a real property of 4.843 mils.
Madam Chair,
I'm
we're,
sorry.
we're still on 1.03,
1.03.
which is the final budget amendments for 2017-18.
I'm sorry, I move approval of the final budget amendments for
Thank you.
2017-18.
Thank you. Moved by Rasmussen, second by Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Wimberly.
Okay, if you would open up you have a manila folder in front of you, and you have sheets that look like this, and then you have one. That's what we're going to work from. First sheet is the agenda we're going to follow to adopt the budget. It's a little different this year. Normally, in years we've had a thick ASBO document that's got a lot of verbiage and explanation. This year it's a little more brief.
Meryl, if I can stop you just a minute. Most of what I have says 1.05. Can you show me again what you have for 1.03?
If you open up your manila folder.
It's open.
You have these sheets here,
You're in 1.0.
Agenda item
have a long one.
details.
You should have a short one and a long one.
We just did 1.03.
Oh, you're not, no, but, okay, sorry, my bad, gotcha.
The first thing that we always do, because it's required by law, is to have an explanation of the rollback rate, and that's under number 1. Letter A, the taxing authority is the School Board of Leon County, Florida, and the millage rate to be levied at 6.343 mils is less than, it should say is more than the rollback rate. That was Scribner's error, is more than the rollback rate computed pursuant to section 200.065 by 1.79%. This is what caused us to advertise a tax increase this year in the newspaper. The next thing I want to point your attention to is the resolution that you will be approving tonight that we will send to DOE tomorrow. And it lists out all the revenue we will receive. The first page is required local effort. Now this is it says at 100%, 18 million from the required local effort. Actually, okay, I'm sorry. 18 billion is the assessed property value. Over on the right-hand side, 70,667,000 from the required local effort of 4.083 mils. Then the discretionary millage is 207 million. That's millage you can levy up to 0.748 mils, but that's as high as you can go. You can't go any higher than that without going to the taxpayers. And the total required millage is 70,975,000. This is what will be assessed the taxpayers at 100%. The next page is the 1.5 mil levy. That is 25,998,000. Again, that's at 100%. And then number 6 in the middle of the page, you note that the total millage rate exceeds the rollback rate by 1.79%. The next page should be stapled in your document, or is the budget as appeared in the newspaper. It's the entire budget. We list the total millage rate here that we just went over, 6.343 mils. The total general fund budget is 324.4 million, special revenue of 52.5. That includes food service and federal projects. Debt service of 54.3 million, capital projects of 99.59 million, trust and agency, the small fund for Lively, 40 million, and for a total of 530.9 million. Now this page here, this long document, this is what we send to the Department of Education for the budget. The first page is a summary of the millage rates. The second page is the general fund revenues and other sources of transfers. We're going to have revenues of 268.4 million. That's almost at the bottom of the page. You see that number. We have transfers in from the capital projects fund of 4.9 million for a total fund balance of 51.1 million and a total budget of 324.4 million. The following page is a summary of the budget by function, which is on the left-hand side, and it breaks it out by objects: salaries, benefits, purchase service, etc. Total spent this year will be budgeted as 307 million. And the fund balance at the bottom is broken out for you. We have an unassigned fund balance of 11.3 million, and we have an assigned fund balance of 5. That's where our That's the 5 million is the reserve, the 11.3 million, that's where we use both of these numbers to comply with the Department of Education's requirement, and we're well above 3%. We're well within what's expected. The following page is food service. That total budget is $17,043,000. The next page is also food service. The first page is the revenues and other financing sources. The second page are the expenditures. The next page is the special revenue federal projects. And we list out the different federal projects we have. Title I, there is 9.9 million. IDEA is 17.7 million. Those are the two biggest. There's about 27 million of the 33 million revenue right there for all the projects. Those are the big ones. The following page is like the general fund page was. It breaks it out into function and objects again. So we're budgeting 35.3 million in federal projects, and we are going to have 17 million in salaries, 6 million in benefits, etc. Next two pages are blank, and then we come to the debt service fund. If you go the left-hand side, that's the total for the fund is here, 54.3 million. We will just list the revenues coming in and the other financing sources. We get a lot in the debt service fund. Most of it comes from transfers in from capital outlay, because that's where most of our debt is paid from. The following page, still debt service, and if you look at the very top, you'll note we pay 22 million out for debt service. The next page is capital projects. Again, on the left-hand side, the total budget of 99.6 million. And because they're local, if you'll look over here under, close to the very end of the page, under a fund that says 370, that's where your capital outlay revenue comes in. You'll see a number there, 24,656,000. And then a little bit farther to the right, over on the two columns over, that is where the sales tax is accounted for, and that revenue coming in is 21,828,000 budgeted. The following page is the detail of how that money will be spent. On the left-hand side summarizes all the different funds. And the 370 fund and the 390 fund, the two we just looked at, that's where most of the expenditures occur. Sales tax and local capital improvement. That really that's the budget. The next page are the agency funds. Those are only $40 million. But this is what goes to the Department of Education tomorrow. 40,000, I'm sorry. What did I say?
I was about to say, you got different material up here, huh?
I made Shelley Bell real happy for 1 second.
Yes, we wish.
All right. Thank you.
Now, this document it summarizes this, and it cut off a lot of it. That's why one reason I didn't use it. But once you get past that, a lot of the material that you've always seen in the ASBO document is here in the form of spreadsheets. And there is, in the general fund, the whole explanation of the different we always break it out into those projects. There's about 3 or 4 pages, so that is in here also. This didn't come out as clearly as I would have preferred. Our printer had some issues today. So that's why I separated it out.
Put a new printer in the budget.
There
Can't
might,
afford it.
Or some ink in the printer.
Naomi says no.
so if we can go back, if there are not any questions, we can go back to the main.
If I wanted to see the line item for teacher raises, what line would that be? If I look at this pack.
I could not point you to a line for teacher raises.
Okay.
We have it within our budget to pay for teacher raises. Once we settle with the union, then we will allocate those funds to different areas within the budget.
Or do we have a lump sum of money that in this budget that we potentially going to give raises to anybody?
We have money set aside for raises.
What line item is that?
The salary, so the salary line item
That would have to
be-
come out of fund balance
Fund balance? Okay.
or it would come
I
out
just
of
want
the
to know
staffing
if
plan.
somebody asks me, I can tell it come out
It
of
would
fund
come out
balance.
of fund balance or the staffing
But we
plan.
haven't negotiated that,
No,
right?
But the money's there in fund balance.
Excuse me?
The money's there in fund balance.
Money is in this budget.
In this budget.
It's in staffing plan.
Right, so if you, real quick, can you go to the big document and turn to about the middle where it says budget summary and general fund? A couple of things I'll point out. Now, I think you gotta go, once you get to that page, then turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
It's summary and general fund.
7, 8, 9, 10.
It's in the center of it's the general fund.
Page 12. Yep, so go there and then go to page 12 after you get to that spot. At the top, it says, Superintendent's Leon County School Board 2018-2019 General Estimated Appropriations.
It's actually page 11. This sheet right here.
Sheet, you've seen it before.
And it has last year, 17-18 is compared to 18-19.
Yeah. Hold on just a minute.
We tried to make it interesting this year.
Yeah.
So we have a look.
Whole nother tab.
There it is.
Do you want to give them mine, and then I'll take that?
So, no,
That's
not
not-
special revenue.
I thought it was in it.
Sorry, so go 11 pages over
That's
the,
it.
sorry, my
I
bad.
had it. Mine's different.
I mean, page numbers would probably be helpful.
It's different. 1, 2,
Yes, it is, but it is what it is. It's the first one we put on. That's what I keep saying.
6,
She's almost
7,
there.
8, 9. It's 11.
One more, keep going. You'll just keep going, one more.
So a couple of things about that page as compared to last year. Merrill mentioned a minute ago
Okay.
that our emergency reserve, 2 years ago it was at $3 million. We moved it $1 million last year, moved it another $1 million this year. So the emergency reserve is now at $5 million. You see the unrestricted fund balance grew. Last year it was 10.6. This year it's 11.3. One thing which is 3.49% of the budget. But one thing to also look at, as Merrill and Naomi both will remind me, the total budget is larger. It went from $305 million to $324 million. Also included, already built in here, when we talked about the $1 million for the arts and athletics, it's already in there. The raises for all of our blue-collar workers, the increase from $9.50 to $11 an hour or minimum wage, the security monitors at all of our schools, the school behavior specialists for all of our elementary schools. All of that is already built into the budget, as is X amount still to be negotiated for teacher salaries. So that unrestricted fund balance there is where we would like to stay, what we're recommending that we stay for this year. So we already have, and we discussed this a little bit in executive session, and we can do that again, Ms. Lewis Butler, if you'd like. And we've had preliminary negotiations. I see Ms. McAllister back there. I believe y'all meet again tomorrow?
Not tomorrow, but we meet within the next week.
Within the next week. Okay, so they've already had a tentative conversations, talked about money and what that amount is. I'm very optimistic that these negotiations are going to go well, and our teachers are going to be happy, as are our support staff members.
Very
But
good.
all of that's already built into the budget, and it still gives us a $5 million emergency reserve and an $11.3 million unrestricted fund balance that we can carry in for the next fiscal
Very
year.
good. This is it. Okay.
Meryl, kind of on that same point, on the spreadsheet where it does designate teacher salaries, it had like 11 million for salaries, so it was column 100, no, 17.
The instruction function and
General fund 100, it was in the longer one,
Yes.
page 3.
that does not only include
Actually, 171.
teachers. but
Right, that's
you have
everybody.
aides in there, all the support
Everybody.
staff that are clerical.
So
but mostly
171,
It's aides and teachers.
$171 million,
It's everybody.
everybody that works for the school
It's
district.
everybody.
Do you have any idea what that number was last year?
Well, if you look in the staffing plan on that same page, last year it was 165 million. This year it's 177 million.
Gotcha, that's what I
So
wanted
it's
to
a
know.
12%, a $12 million increase from last year to this year in the staffing plan. But remember now, some of that it was about 2.5 million for the blue collar raises, and then for the safety monitors and security monitors was about another 2 million. So now you're at 4.5. So all of that is rolled up into to that staffing plan number.
Okay. Okay.
That's the actual, isn't it? If you just give me 1 second.
Rocky, when are we supposed to have a final word from the teacher negotiation?
So
Salaries?
we met
We budgeted 163 and we.
2 weeks. We met 2 weeks ago and kicked it off. We presented. We've met twice. So the first meeting we didn't talk about money. Talked a little bit about language, and then the last meeting with Leonard Dietzen and with Dina, we talked about money and have presented an increase across the board as in addition to the performance pay piece. So.
We have like a deadline with them though, like we have to have it done by a certain date.
Man, no sooner rather than later. I mean, I know we've gone well into the spring before we finish, but no, I'm very optimistic we'll be finished by the end of October.
Okay.
You asked this year, the actual expenditures for salaries was real close to what the budget was. It was essentially 7 million more budget now than what we've spent last year.
Okay.
And what we spent last year was very close to what we budgeted.
Okay. Thank you.
Sometime, let me explain. There's some years when we have budgeted and then the actual expenditures came in a lot less than what we budgeted because we moved more out of that line item. This year it was very close. Naomi has worked hard over the past few years to make sure those are closer.
Ready for? All right. Anything? Are you guys finished, or there's more?
We're finished.
We're finished. Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. We have a public hearing before we go there. I know you're ready for this. I know who to look to when we're ready. Just hold on. All right. So, open public hearing.
Madam Chair, there are no speakers.
No speakers. Closed public hearing. Ms. Rasmussen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. See if I can see this. The superintendent recommends approval of the adoption of the resolution found in board documents and to set an operating millage on real property of 4.843 mils.
I move that recommendation.
Okay.
I think I moved it, and if you could second it, that'd be great. I'm sorry.
We're on the same page.
Okay. Moved by Rasmussen, second by Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 4 would be resolution of an adoption of local capital improvement tax levy.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I move the superintendent's recommendation to approve the resolution found in the board documents to establish a discretionary millage of 1.50 mils for the purpose of funding capital improvement projects as provided for in Section 1011.71 Florida statutes. Paren 2.
Thank you. Moved by Rasmussen, second by Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Number 5, adoption of a final district summary budget.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Move the superintendent's recommendation to approve the adoption of the final estimated budget as the final budget of fiscal year 2018-19 as presented at the public hearing, and that the superintendent be authorized and directed to forward certified copies of the final adopted district summary budget to the Florida Department of Education as required by law.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Rasmussen, second by Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. And just as an item for the minutes, just to recap, 1.03 was final budget amendments for 17-18. There was no discussion on that. 1.04 was pulled. I didn't hit that. And then 1.05 we just got finished, so we're on track now. Board members.
And if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
Naomi, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Merrill, thank you. But you should be really proud of this budget. I mean, and what you've accomplished and what we've all accomplished. We've given back to our schools. We've given back to our employees. We've protected for the future of our school system. I mean, this was really cool. This is really good stuff. And with limited resources, 47 cents.
Yep.
Now, this won't happen year in and year out without any new revenue, but I think we did an outstanding job of identifying opportunities to collect these dollars and consolidate, and you see the fruits of the labor.
I think we would all absolutely agree with
Madam
that.
Chair?
Ms. Rasmussen.
I want to commend the superintendent and to reiterate for the benefit of the public that you first unveiled your proposed budget with details a couple of months ago at least now, and we've obviously had several swings at this, so this is not the first time we've seen this, and just wanted to reiterate that. And at the same time, acknowledge our staff, because when you think about what happened after the Parkland massacre, at the end of the legislative session, we were hit with a number of immediately critical circumstances that had to be fulfilled right away. So for Dr. Cox and his staff, who've worked feverishly to pull off a mental health plan, and for Chief Hunkyar and his staff, who've worked hard to pull off the school safety and security plan, and for Meryl and Naomi and the finance department, who've worked with, everybody's been doing 3 or 4 jobs at a time. There's been turnover at critical junctures, and you guys have done above and beyond at every turn, and so thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to reiterate, Naomi did this budget. She deserves all the credit for having this in front of you. So.
Well, and they were throwing a curveball here at the 11th hour. Tamika Billingsley, for personal and family reasons, had to leave and go get closer to family in Michigan, and that happened in August. And so Naomi picked up and Meryl both, and a number of others kind of picked up where she left off. But that's a critical piece of this whole puzzle to get this document put in place along with the annual financial report. So it took Naomi's up here before FSU ball games on Saturday. We were up here and on Sundays, but we got it done. But Tamika, bless her heart, she just has family first. We've always said that, but this wouldn't have happened without their hard work.
We're grateful for your team. Yes, exactly. And all the hours you put in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, 2.01, changes and additions. Ms. Lewis Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The superintendent recommends approval of changes in addition to the September 11, 2018 school board meeting agenda as presented. Number 1, item 19.05. The superintendent recommends approval of the RAM Construction Development LLC Guaranteed Maximum Price, GMP, contract for construction manager at risk for RFQ 424-2018, construction manager at risk services for Fairview Middle School, Phase 4, administration, dining, stage, and kitchen. New construction, remodeling, renovations, and site improvement bid package. 3A, cast in place, concrete, and 11A, food service equipment only. Add contract documents and accurate contract amount. 2, item 19.02. The superintendent recommends approval to advertise policy 8605, religion expression, for a public hearing and adoption on October 23rd, 2018. Replace documentation. 3, add item 1.03, final budget amendments for 2017 through 2018. 4, all items in category 13, budget amendments. All items under category 13 have been moved to item 1.03, final budget amendments for 2017 to 2018. This includes item 13.01, Frank Stoudemire, Trust Fund Budget Amendment number 1. Final. Item 13.04, General Fund Budget Amendment number 9.
13.02.
13.02, Federal Fund Budget Amendment number 7, final. Item 13.03, Nutrition Services Budget Amendment number 1, final. Item 13.04, General Fund Budget Amendments number 9, final. Item 13.05, Capital Improvement Fund Budget Amendment number 8, final. And item 13.06, Debt Services Fund Budget Amendment number 6, final. 5, add item 1.04, Annual Financial Report and Report for Final Data and Fund Balance Designation for 2017 to 2018. 6, item 19.06, the superintendent recommends approval of the All-State Construction, Inc. Guaranteed Maximum Price, GMP, contract for Phase 2, new budget 23 for construction manager at risk for RFQ 427-2018, construction manager at risk services for Rickles High School, new construction, remodeling, and renovations, and site improvements. Add contract document and accurate contract amount. 7, item 1.04, annual financial report and report of financial data and fund balance designation for 2017 to 2018. Pull. 8, add item 1.05, final public hearing for 2018 to 2019 budget.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis Butler. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move the approval.
Second.
Moved by Bowen, second by Rasmussen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Superintendent Spotlight.
Madam Chair, if I may, I want to bring back to the podium Gunnery Sergeant Anthony Reeves to say a few words about the cadets he has with him tonight and share a little bit what he shared with me about this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. To the board members, we bring you greetings from Leon High School Marine Corps Junior ROTC, and it's an honor to be here this evening to present presentation of colors and a special day today of remembrance in our history. And on behalf of our cadets, they're eager and glad to be here, and I love every one of them. We have a good number of 150 cadets in our program at Leon High School ROTC, but the main thing we've been teaching them about patriotism, about this day, never to forget. Today, we had a special presentation at Leon High School with the approval of our principal, Mr. William Epting, and he supports us very well in our program that we presented to the whole school along with the SGA at the school to do a flag presentation to educate this community and the school not to remember to forget what happened on this day 17 years ago. And on September 11, 2001, 19 militants associated with an extremist group, Al-Qaeda, hijacked 4 airliners and carried out suicide attacks against targets in the United States. 2 of the planes were flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York. The 3rd plane hit the Pentagon just outside of Washington, D.C. And the 4th plane was purposely crashed in the field of Pennsylvania, where we lost more than 3,000 lives that day. We talked to the kids to explain to them why this is so important, and to our community never to forget, because freedom is not free. And the important thing about patriotism is something to be driven, to have a passion and a love for. And I explain it to our cadets all the time in the program, why is it so important to serve, not just the program, but in your community, in your home, and in our country. And not having military service obligated to serve, but just being a great American, to be patriotized, to do things in our country. So we had an honor to do that today at Leon, and I had some great comments from students. I want to just share two of them, two personal ones that I have from our assistant principal, Ms. Hedgerton. She said it was a student coming from the media center during the time he started the presentation. This young man's not even in ROTC, and he's a sophomore. And as she was coming out the office, the young man stopped to put his hand on his heart while he was playing the national anthem and taps. So she didn't say nothing to the young man until we were done with the national anthem. When we were done, she asked the young man, she said, well, that was very patriotic of you. And the young man said, man, I love this school. And walked off. She said, are you a cadet? She said, no, ma'am, what's a cadet?
A recruit.
So that
to go find him, right?
Yeah,
Right.
It was an impact on that young man. And then to find out I have another young freshman who just started the program this year into ROTC, and his mother was present today at the presentation we did. Did not know this, but it's funny how life can make things full circle. The young man is Cadet Bannister. He's a freshman, and he wasn't even born when this happened in 2001. But his mother, her brother, was one of the men who jumped out of the North Tower out the window when the tower was on fire. And I didn't know this till he shared that with me in class. And I said, man, let me meet your mother. And I met her, and we consoled her, and we just had a great time in talking. And she was very honored to be there, to see her son being present in that event to give a presentation to something he didn't even know about before he was born. So those things really pays off of patriotism. And I thank the superintendent and the school board to allow every ROTC to show that patriotism to the young Americans to carry on this tradition. So I thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you for what
you
you
know,
do.
something you may not have realized, your presentation didn't only just touch people at Leon today. So my office is located across the street from Leon. And about 10 o'clock this morning, is that about when it was?
Yes, ma'am.
We were having a meeting in my office, and I'm up on the second story at Big Brothers Big Sisters, so we look right over to the campus. And I thought, what is that? And do you know, we stopped the entire meeting and stood at our windows and
Wow.
looked out and watched over. And I can't even imagine probably the other buildings along Tennessee Street that did exactly the same thing. And we shared where we were that day, and we talked about it, and it was just a memory for us. So you touched the whole entire neighborhood around Leon today as well. So thank you for that.
How many years have you been at Leon High School now, Gunny?
Well, this is my 19th year, sir. I've been at Leon, and it's funny that Minister Tim was talking this morning. I remember where I was sitting at was actually those steel drums there. That was our old office, and Major Plummer was the instructor there with me, and we were sitting in the office prior to the third period, actually fourth period was starting. And we was watching on the TV when we saw that first plane struck, and we just sit there and looked at each other like, is that really happening? And, of course, everything from that point was a chain reaction, and we knew what was happening. So, as Dave, we should never forget.
Well, I can't thank you enough for all that you've done for hundreds and hundreds of cadets that have gone through your program at Leon. As Dr. Rogers would say, it's a program that is definitely on point, and that's because of your leadership. And I want to thank the cadets that you're here, that we're counting on you. That you're the future of this country to represent us well, and very proud of you and all of your efforts and how you represent not only Leon High School but Leon County Schools. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Would it be okay if we have just the cadets introduce themselves?
Yes,
And
by all
say
means.
whatever else they
Yes.
are. They just looked like they wanted to talk.
They did.
They did.
Good afternoon.
Good
My
afternoon.
name is Megan Steele. I am a cadet sergeant at the Leon's Marine Corps ROTC program. And really quickly, I just wanted to thank you guys for letting us have this program in the first place, and then also do this ceremony that we did today. I've just joined our SGA this year, and it was very interesting to try to coordinate everything. And
A teachable moment. A learning opportunity.
yeah, it was very much a learning opportunity, but one of the things I realized is how much we rely on everybody in our community. So the fact that we were able to share everything with Leon and then our community around was a wonderful experience. So thank you very much.
That's
Thank you.
great.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You guys introduce the rest. You got this. Come
let
on.
them speak up.
My name is Captain Laveris. I've been in the program 4 years now, going on 4. I've been on drill team for 4 years, and I am the S2 of the program, but
The what?
the S2. So we have the CO, and then under them are the XO and the sergeant major,
Okay.
and then under them is the S shop. So I'm one of the 4 S
Wonderful.
of the S shop.
Congratulations.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. So.
And when you graduate, what are your plans?
I don't really have plans yet. I was trying to go for the NRTC scholarship, but I don't have the ACT scores currently for it. I'm missing one of them. So I'm trying to go for that, but we'll see where it leads.
Wonderful.
Good job.
Good
It'll lead
job.
Somewhere
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Keep
Thank
working.
you.
Yes. Next.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Cadet Washington, Lieutenant Colonel Washington. I'm the BNCO of Leon High School Marine Corps JRTC. So I'm the top one in charge. But I don't like but I don't like to think of that. I like to think of everyone as a family, and we all can come into each other and talk to each other about everything. I've been in the program for 3 years, and I plan on going into the Navy and becoming a corpsman. So
Wonderful.
Yes, I plan on doing.
Wonderful.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Good luck
Thank
to
you
you.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you for
Thank
being here.
Hi, my name is Sergeant Major Thomas. I'm the Sergeant Major MCJRTC at Leon. And I just want to say that I love RTC so much. I've been in it for 4 years now, and it really impacted me on my attitude and really on everything, because my family noticed the difference with me and attitude. So, yes.
Wonderful.
Good
Thank
job.
Thank you. Aha, the male among them. Oh.
I'm Second Lieutenant Andrew Reeves, and I've been in RGC for 3 years in my junior year, but you could say I've been in it for 16.
Yes, you have.
You're related, huh?
But I just really enjoy RGC. It's just a second family to me, and just really something I love to do. So.
Good thing.
What are you planning to do
Congratulations.
when you graduate, Mr. Reeves?
I plan to go to college and study civil engineering and become a civil
Oh,
engineer.
good job.
Wonderful.
Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I know it's been a long day. I appreciate you. Thank you all. Okay, 4.01 recognitions, looks like none to date. 5.01 District Advisory Council, none to date. 5.02 Student District Advisory Council, none to date. I know we look forward to having them back. Ashley, I'm sure you will be introducing our new Student
Absolutely.
Advisory Council member. Do we know who that is, by the way, for this coming year, Student Advisory?
We do have a name. Dr. Gale has more.
Oh, can we not say it, though, yet?
Abigail
Oh, okay.
Sale High School.
Oh, wonderful. So we think she'll be with us soon? Okay, wonderful. We really look forward to that as a board, to hear what the students are doing. So we look forward to you being a part of that. 5.03 Title I Advisory Council, none to date. Another one we look forward to hearing from very soon. 6 persons to be heard.
Madam Chair, you have 4 speakers.
All right.
Okay, the first speaker, Dr. Ron Saff. If you could please come, give us your name, address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Dr. Ron Saff, 2300 Centerville Road, Tallahassee. I'm an allergy and asthma doctor here in Tallahassee. And the reason I'm here is because there's not enough progress being made with lead in school drinking water. Please remember that I'm the messenger here, and if you don't like the message, please don't shoot the messenger. But since I last saw you, elevated lead levels have been found in numerous schools, including those in Detroit, Houston, and Tampa. And you have the article about the Tampa one and many other cities. My group also found elevated lead levels in the Capitol drinking water fountains. Wherever you find old plumbing, you find lead. So elevated lead in drinking water is just not just a Tallahassee problem, but a national one as well. Lead should not be in the human body. Consuming tiny amounts of lead can have life-altering impacts on young children. It invades their maturing brains and shrinks areas that control attention, comprehension, reasoning, and aggression. School should be a place where kids expand their IQs, not have it shrunk by drinking lead in drinking water. The American Academy of Pediatrics, recognizing lead as such a potent brain poison, urges levels to be kept at 0 to near 0 levels. They recommend that water fountains have levels less than 1 part per billion. In short, any amount of lead in drinking water is unsafe. According to data collected from Leon County schools, not from me or my people, but from you and your people, and published on your website, there's still elevated lead levels, higher than 1 part per billion. And I do want to give you credit. You do recognize there's a problem and you're taking action, but I think you're getting the wrong advice, perhaps from your outside plumbing consultant who's recommending flushing, when you should be filtering the tap water. The handout I gave you points out that flushing can actually increase, but not decrease, but actually increase exposure to lead. So I give you credit for trying to do the right thing, but I do want to remind you that according to the Leon County School mission statement, the school should be a safe environment. It's not safe if kids are drinking poisoned water. Please look for outside advice, and please filter the drinking water. This is just not my recommendation, but it's also, this idea is also recommended by the Florida chapter of the American Academy of Pediatricians, representing the pediatricians, many of the pediatricians in Florida. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next speaker, Stanley Sims. Mr. Sims. 3 times, Mr. Sims. Please give us your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Stanley Sims. I'm at 1320 Avondale Way. I was just out there with the cadets because it's real emotional. First, I need to apologize. I disappointed my son today. I disappointed my wife today. And I disappointed a lot of people in this community who have looked beyond my faults and supplied my needs. So I got to clear that up. But the late Amos Lewis told me one time in Humanity, he said, discrimination will change. They will no longer hang white and black signs out. They will no longer call you derogatory names. They will become clever with their tactics. And you must become clever, but remain humble as a dove. It's strange how words will come back to you. And so, Mr. Superintendent, I want to apologize for my behavior today. And I'm saying that I hope that when we meet again, I'm going to give my son and my wife the right respect and to make sure that more children in this district will witness what I just witnessed. A black female leading 152 cadets at Leon High School at a place where minorities could not go. That's progress. Our history is not pretty, but we own it. We own it in order to help us to move forward. My son today, I felt was slighted. From the first time he saw his brother put on a uniform, he knew he wanted to be in the Navy. The commander had to give a standing order because when he was at Swift Creek, he was more into the pictures than his older brother. And for him to be slighted, it's not fair. But also, it is not fair for me not to represent him properly. And I did not represent him properly. I did not represent my wife properly. I have worked with this school
Time.
board. Mr. Superintendent, 30 seconds.
Thank
and
you,
I'll be
Mr.
finished.
Sims. I appreciate you. We're trying to hold everybody to 3 minutes across the
Okay.
board,
Well,
but I appreciate
I'm
you
going to
being
say
here.
this walking away.
Mr. Sims, thank
when
you.
I've been to this district, I've said good things. When I've felt things with concern, I've expressed them. This is an area of concern.
Thank you.
And you shut me off because you won't return my calls. I'd appreciate it. If you want me just have 3 minutes, please, I've gone through Ms. Henson. Your strategy in getting in touch with you, Ms. Ava, is very
Sir,
complex.
you have had 3 minutes to speak. Madam Chair, the next speaker is Isabel Sandridge Suarez.
Hello.
Hi, if you could give us your name and your address, and then you have 3 minutes, okay?
Okay. My name's Isabel Sandridge Suarez. I live at 397 Meadow Ridge Drive, and I go to Deer Lake Middle School. I'm here regarding bullying at my school and ongoing issues that I've had with bullying at my school and at my other elementary school, Hawks Rise. I've been bullied by the same person ever since kindergarten, and I've reported it every time it's happened, and I've followed all the procedures they've ever told you to do, and nothing has happened to date about it stopping. And the most recent one involved her telling somebody else to stomp on my foot and me being pushed repeatedly before I got on the bus in the afternoon. And I'm really concerned about how many times she's been able to do this without having repercussions. And I know y'all have a zero tolerance policy regarding bullying, but I haven't seen that used in my case. And it's very concerning to me because I know that there's many other kids at my school that fear retaliation for even coming up and then nothing happens. And I think it's unfair. And I just wanted to share my concerns and my story to other people and to all of you to take the issue more seriously, because it can have detrimental effects on a kid later on in life. So I would like all of you to do whatever you can to issue that no tolerance policy and to have it used in schools.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Stay right there.
Yes, please.
Obviously, we don't know all the facts, and I'm sure that the day-to-day operation of the schools is statutorily directed to the superintendent, and he in turn has principals. So I'm confident that the superintendent will look into the facts. But what I want to say to you is you are a proud, brave, beautiful, articulate young woman. And you should be, I can tell your mom's very proud, and I'm proud of you. I just watched this video this morning that went viral, a 7th grade girl doing a like spoken word thing on being bullied in middle school. It is such a difficult place to be. And there's nothing like it. Now, having raised 3 children of my own, I remember it like it was yesterday, and I just wanted to commend you for your bravery. You're articulate, you're smart, you got girl power.
Yes.
And I just know you're going to be fine because obviously you're resilient enough to come up here and call us on how our policy is not being implemented. I'm proud of you for that. That's really something.
Thank you.
So I'm sure that the superintendent and his staff will look into your specific concerns, which wouldn't be within our purview, but I think he's
Yes, ma'am.
that right now.
First, I echo what Mr. Rasmussen has said. What grade are you in?
8th.
Took a lot of courage to do what you just did, and I'm sorry because we have let you down. But I have Dr. Rogers here that would like to meet with you and your mother on when your mother's finished speaking, so I can get all the information and all the facts as to what's going on. And you know, actions speak louder than words, and we can say we have zero tolerance for bullying, and I'd like to believe that because I remember what it was like to be an 8th grader at Raw Middle School with dark hair and dark skin in the late 70s, and it was not an easy thing to do. So I do have zero tolerance, and once I'm made aware of this, we will take action, I promise you. Okay, sweetie?
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Before you take your seat, Ms. Suarez, I could not let you sit down without saying how very concerned I am and how very proud I am of you for having the courage to stand before the hundreds of folk who are watching this television program tonight. And I just applaud your energy and your humbleness and your strength for speaking about a topic that is so important to you and that is so important to many other girls. I know exactly what it is to feel bullied, to feel discriminated against in any shape and form. It doesn't feel good, it doesn't taste good, it doesn't smell good, and it can affect you for long periods of your life. And so I say to you tonight that I'm proud of the way you've been parented to be here tonight with us to share this. And hopefully that your schoolmates will see that you are a shero amidst them all. And so I just need to say that. So continue to be the leader that you are. And when it appears to you that some things are happening to you in your life that we ought to know about, I want you to come back again and tell us, because we're supposed to be providing for you the kind of protection that you need to get your education. So having had 3 children and grandchildren and a great-grandchild, it is important to me that they know that we, the adults here, are here to take care of them. So will you do that? If you find that things still are not going right, will you come back? Will you ask your parents to bring you back?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. We're on your side for safety. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
You're a brave soul. We appreciate you being here tonight, and your mother. Thank you.
Madam Chair, we do have one final speaker. That is Miss Leah Standridge. If you could come, give us your name, address. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Leah Sandridge. I am the proud mother of this young lady. I live at 397 Meadow Ridge Drive. And I'm speaking to the topic of bullying as well. We have spent years now utilizing the policies and procedures that are in place here at Leon County. First with my son, who received no respite whatsoever and had lifelong and still continues to battle with the issues that occurred when he was bullied. And my daughter had to be a part of that as well. He attended the same schools. Zero tolerance was put in place in his 6th grade, and unfortunately, zero tolerance didn't occur. I have been in touch with Dr. Rogers' office, and I was asked to be patient, and that was last Thursday. And my daughter, this is now escalated to physical, where she had her foot stomped on repeatedly. I talked to the SRD, and I've been asked as to whether I would like to have the child arrested that perpetrated on my daughter. And that's a very tough decision for me to make. And the second part to that is, you don't know what I do for a living, and I'm not going to waste my time, but I know how that can change somebody's life. And I really hope that the school policy and procedure will actually elevate itself to the point of helping the young lady who actually was given the order to stomp on my daughter's foot by a young lady who has been bullying my daughter for years and has done so to other students. And parents have experienced the same issue with the same child, and nothing has happened. And they're afraid. And I hear it in the 4 walls of my office, and I see what it does. So all I can say is I'm pleading to you as a mother, as a clinician, as an advocate, that I take that role very seriously in this community, and we're at our wits' end. So I'll leave you with that.
We appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here tonight.
Thank you for coming.
My daughter did this spur of the moment after she just tried out for an all-state chorus because she heard some of the once again, we'll have to get back to you on the phone when I picked her up to take her to a doctor's appointment and to go to Lincoln. So this was her decision, and I support my children, and I hope that you'll continue to do the same and provide her with a safe environment. In addition, this camera on the bus ramp going into Deer Lake, as of a week ago Wednesday, was not working. And as of Friday of last week, I was told by the SRD, it's still not working because the district hasn't fixed it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for being here. And this certainly is not a solution, but I'm thinking about the mental health counselors that we have on our campuses now as a maybe perhaps first step for some relief and a place to go and talk so that there can be some relieving yet of what is happening. And I know that the superintendent will be on top of this and will carry out what needs to happen further, but until such times there is that kind of relief, I just need to mention that so
Yes.
that, I just need to throw that in, and thank you for being here so very much.
Madam Chair. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Lewis Butler.
Yes, thank you for coming because I believe in parental support and the fact that you're here with your daughter, and this is very good. And we like to hear this and know what's going on exactly with the camera not being on the buses. And
that was on the school grounds, actually, on the loading ramp.
On the school grounds?
Yes, and there was another child on the bus, unfortunately, that was also physically hit in the head with a backpack by the same person that stomped on my daughter's foot. And there were witnesses this time to this, and I was told that the bus cameras did not capture that, but that's to her parents to speak to.
Okay.
There's some serious problems here, but that camera wasn't working on school grounds.
Okay, well,
I feel sure these will be addressed tomorrow.
Will be addressed.
Absolutely, Madam Chair. I look at Mr. Hunkiar and Buddy Triquet are taking notes, as is Dr. Rogers, and we'll be meeting with this young lady and her mother this evening before they leave.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you both. Yes.
I just wanted to comment. I do happen to know a bit of Miss Standridge's career path and her and what I really appreciate is her understanding that it's the bullies sometimes who are in the most pain too. And you know, there's such a fine line between how to best handle everything, and that's obviously why her daughter is as well adjusted and able to handle more adversity than most young ladies your age. But so you should feel really proud. But I think she may have some wisdom about ways in we could maybe better implement our policy based on her credentials and her career path. So just to put that out there for you. Thank you.
And you're right, hurting people hurt people.
Thank you all.
Thank you all for
So,
being
right, very good information to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So motion for consent agenda, please.
So move the consent agenda.
Second. Moved by Bowen, second by Rasmussen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, that brings us to 19.01, items for consideration. Superintendent recommends approval to advertise policy 6320.02, continuing contracts for a public hearing and adoption on October 23rd, 2018. Okay.
The speaker.
Good evening, Board Superintendent. This policy, continuing contracts 6320.02, is still going back and cleaning up policies. Once the board amended and moved from 500,000 to 1.5. In this policy, we had amended it one time, but also hearing from the board that contractors, engineers, architects not getting work. The original policy limited the amount of continuing contracts to 3 to 5, depending on which area. And so what we've done is we've gone back into this policy and we've opened it up to where we advertise instead of having a full-blown selection and selecting 3. The committee ranks them, and then it is in ranked order that they receive projects. So if a CM, engineer, and architect applies for a project and meets the criteria that's set up, we've asked them to show that they have a minimum of 3 projects they can document of K-12 educational work as an engineer, an architect, or a CM. And in that policy, we also added some language that if at any time the estimated value or the contract value exceeds 1.5 million, we stop the process and go to the policy. Let me find it in here exactly. Go back to, and okay, there it is. We go, it says, make statement in I on each of them. If the estimated project cost exceeds 1.5 or for the planning of an activity study exceeds 150,000 at any phase, the superintendent's designee will discontinue the continuing contract process and utilize other construction delivery methods set forth in Board Policy 6321, Construction Educational Facilities. So what we've tried to do is open this up so more contractors, architects, and engineers will have opportunity at these smaller projects. And we've also cleaned it up where we have in there, if it exceeds the 1.5, it gets stopped immediately.
Did I understand you to say that they have to have 3 years of
K-12 experience.
K-12 experience.
Yes, educational experience.
Okay, so if they don't have the 3 years, then, okay, say someone just finished college and have that background, they couldn't get the job because they don't have the experience.
They can work with one of the other firms and use that as their experience as long as they're working on those type projects. Okay. We're not looking for someone that builds Circle Ks to come in and do educational projects.
Okay.
So then how does, Madam Chair, how does this fit into the Ron McQueen piece with our minority contractors and having some of them be a part of this process? Does this include that at all?
They are notified that we are advertising, and they have to submit. They have to be a pre-qualified contractor if they're presenting for a CM. If they're an architect and an engineer, they have to be licensed in the state of Florida.
Okay.
So these are people that are doing work for us on the 1.5, and we do advertise. They do have to present. They have to respond to it, and they have to be pre-qualified if they're a contractor.
Okay.
And when you said pre-qualified, do we pre-qualify them?
Yes, ma'am. Normally there's something at every board meeting for pre-qualified contractors. They expire annually. By SREF and by statute, we're required to pre-qualify them annually. So is their contract about 2 months before they run out, we send them an email notifying them that they're running out, and they have to respond again and to be pre-qualified. Then we bring that to the board to approve the pre-qualifications.
Okay, so we're on top of that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move the approval.
Second.
Moved by Bowen, second by Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. 19.02, Superintendent recommends approval to advertise policy 8605, religious expression, for a public hearing and adoption on October 23, 2018. Dr. Gale.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, Superintendent, and board members. We discussed this on yesterday, that this is per Florida Statute 1002.206. This language was given to us in all other districts in the state of Florida for us to implement as stated, and we're doing so.
Gotcha. Any further questions? I know we discussed a lot of this yesterday.
No discussion. We must do this, so I move the approval of this recommendation.
Moved by Bowen, second by Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Gale. Thank you.
Hallelujah.
19.03, settlement of all present and future claims. Mr. Paul Lambert. Another one we discussed at length yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
Okay, 4, So what
Just
is,
for the record, would like to again express my displeasure with this for it being completely in disregard of the statute of limitations. I think we're opening ourselves up to further claims, and that's all I'm going to say about that. There we go.
okay. 19.04.
19.04, memorandum of understanding between the District School Board of Leon County and the Leon County Teachers Association for the Florida Department of Education, declaration of the lowest 300 and differentiated accountability schools.
Yes, have some.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, superintendent. This before you this evening for your consideration is the approval of the memorandum of understanding between the district and the bottom 300 schools. Those are the schools that are identified in our district who are among the lowest performing schools in terms of reading proficiency, one component of school grade that the state has identified for extra instructional time, which requires an extended teacher day. And extended student contact time. So as a result, it changes working conditions for teachers. So we negotiate this through in a memo of understanding between LCTA, the Leon County Teachers Association, and the school district for your consideration.
Thank you, and I believe we're going to have some further discussion later in the evening on the lowest 300 and differentiated.
Yes,
Right, ma'am.
Ms. Bowen, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I wanted to hear specifically, and it may be on the next part, what we were going to do to be meeting whatever it was that the Department of Education decided that we needed to do, but I think that's on the second part of your presentation and not this part about LCTA, right?
Yes, ma'am. For this part of the agenda, it's the memo of understanding, and I do have a presentation for you. For that.
I'll hold until then. I'm good with this.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 19.05, Mr. Albritton, I'll let you handle this one.
1905 is the superintendent's recommendation for approval of RAM Construction Development LLC, guaranteed maximum price as a contract manager at risk at Fairview Middle School, Phase 4, administration dining stage, kitchen new construction, remodel, renovation, site improvements bid package. This is the bid package 3A, cast in place concrete, and 11A, food service equipment only. Again, this is a phased project. This allows the CM to order long lead and begin the foundation. This contract amount is for $960,583.28.
I move approval of the superintendent's recommendation.
Second.
Moved by Bowen, second by Lewis Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
If I may, Madam Chair, so I see Mr. Annan sitting in the audience tonight with RAM Construction, and they're in the process of completing the gymnasium renovations. We've had some setbacks with the summer weather, which has been crazy with all the rain. But we're moving along with that project. It's been approved and funded 100%, as have been the drawings for the new building one, which is the administrative building, and the new cafeteria and the new kitchen. So what this does is, as they're working towards a guaranteed maximum price for the entire building, this set aside of 900 and some odd thousand is for the foundation to go ahead and get the building started, so we can start in October and have it finished before next August. So it's the foundation for the new administration building.
Okay.
Very exciting.
Yes.
Good job.
Oh, just wait till the next one. The next one's even better.
Woo, better. All right.
I'm going to give it to y'all, and then I'll pass it to the superintendent. Won't steal his thunder.
All right.
You can steal some of it.
Yes.
1906, superintendent's recommendation approval of Allstate Construction guaranteed maximum price, Phase 3, Building 23, as construction manager at risk at Rickers High School for the new construction. This originally, so don't go too far, this is Building 23 out there. It's a new two-story center load corridor building. The budget price on it, original budget for this, was $11.5 million. The guaranteed maximum price for this came in at $6,677,378.
All right. Move the
It's
superintendent
time to get
recommendation.
excited. Is it time to get excited, Mr. Superintendent, or are you leaving?
Not yet. Y'all have to approve.
Wait, I got a motion. I need a second.
I move.
Second.
Moved by Lewis Butler, second by Bowen. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
So when last time Danny was up here, we talked about the Rickers project because of the cost of construction and the time, squeezing the time and the site work and everything into the summer, that we were running a little over what we had budgeted initially on the site part. You know, the relocation of the ball fields, the demolition of Building 4, and the plans. This, like Danny said, we threw a number at based on what happened this summer of $11 million, which still would have kept us in that $35 million range in total, right? It's come in now, as you can see, at 6.7, 6.8, which is just, it's awesome. I mean, it's just awesome news. Now, and we didn't cut any corners. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility.
All right.
And it allows us also, these 20 classrooms allows us also, because we're coming in under budget, to have state-of-the-art technology, furniture, equipment, all of the things, the bells and whistles that will go along with this building. And we're also now very optimistic with these numbers that the second half, Building 24, the other 20 plus classroom wing, will come in around the same $7 million price tag, which is going to keep us way under budget. So it's exciting news. I was really worried about this. I had a couple of sleepless nights as Russ was negotiating. They were crunching the numbers because you have the CM. The CM puts the project out there. All of the subs come in and they bid. It's competitively bid and competitively selected. And after this competitive selection, we came in under $7 million. So I'd like to thank Danny and Russ and all the folks that put a lot of energy, and Ram Construction and Allstate Construction, which are heading up these projects. It's exciting news moving forward on Rickard's project.
Quick question.
We can get it to quit raining.
As you continue to smile. So will there be another opportunity to involve and invite the community back? This is good news to share with them. I mean, I know they're hearing it now, but given where we're going in these phases.
So now, we've completed the demolition of Building 4. We will start in October. Now that we have this number, this guaranteed maximum price, in October, start the new work on Building 23. So we'll have that 20 plus classroom building that will go from October until August, and then we'll move into that building in August for the next school year. Then we'll take down buildings 7 and 8, hopefully come back with another $7 million, not 11, $7 million building with the other classroom wing that would run again from October to August of 2020. Also in the summer, in the summer of 19, this next summer, we're looking to renovate some of the other existing spaces and buildings. And then in the summer of 2020, take down the remaining buildings 5, 6, and 14. You can tell I've memorized these numbers, right? 5, 6, and 14, and then look to do that beautiful courtyard. So this also then would help hopefully free up the money to do the courtyard and everything else that goes along with what we showed to the community several months back.
Great. Good job. Mr. Superintendent, ask one question. Are you able to get your minority contracts with this work?
So with a small business, we had commitments from Ram Construction and Allstate Construction that as they go through this process and this bidding of the subcontractor work, that those considerations would be made for small business owners. So absolutely, and they've heard us. I'll tell you again and again and again. And Rod McQueen is all over it, trying to go out into the community and encourage these small business owners to apply and to submit bids for some of these jobs.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. 20.01 upcoming meetings. 21.01 report from board liaisons. None to date.
Everybody, excuse me, I should say one thing. Has everyone seen, if you haven't noticed in your inbox from the Florida School Boards Association, the legislative platform, please take a look.
Okay.
That's good.
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
ma'am.
Yeah, I want to talk about, I was invited over to Oak Ridge School, and they have this fantastic room that the churches help as a partnership made great. They have like a little movie theater in there, and the walls, and it's just awesome. And this is like a reward room for the students. So when they behavior as well as academic. And I got the little ambassadors. They met me, and I started talking to them. And she said, I'm gifted. And I said, I like that. I said, because you're at a D school and you said this. And then the PTA vice president was there, and they were happy. She said, we did not run from this school. We stayed here because I said, regardless of what school you go to, you got to have parental support. You got to have some kind of support. I don't care what school you go to. You have to have support. And by you staying here, you showed this at Oak Ridge School. I was so happy and delighted and felt so good to be at Oak Ridge School. Dr. Smith is doing a dynamic job there, and the teachers are doing an excellent job. And Mr. Superintendent, thank you for all the help that we gave, the resources, people that we put in the power of the principals to hire people for these students. And because of that, the students are learning and they're happy. When students are happy, they can learn. And that's what I saw at Oak Ridge the other day. Now, at Pineview School, they are doing a program on reading. The principal, Mrs. Connor, they're involved in reading there. You have to have reading comprehension. In order to do anything, I always told the teachers and parents, send me a child that can read. I can teach them some science. So reading is the foundation for everything. At Pineview School, that's what they're doing. They're starting out with a dynamic reading program for all the students there at Pineview School. At Bond School, I went to Bond School Saturday, invited me to a health community fair. They had a hypertension apparatus all out there, taking high blood pressure, and they walked from the park to the school on Saturday. And once they got there, they did selfies, taking pictures, and it was a community involvement with the school talking about health. You know, you have to be healthy in order to learn as well. You have to be healthy in order to work. So students have to be healthy, and their parents have to be healthy in order to do what they do. So at Bond School, they were focused on health. I wanted to give a shout out for Bond School doing health, Pineview School doing reading, and Oak Ridge School doing rewarding the students for being successful in doing their work in school.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a partial liaison report. I'll make the first part tonight and we'll follow up when I return from Camp Weed on tomorrow.
You cracked Ms. Rasmussen up with that. Where did you say you were going?
She has to take mosquito repellent.
I will be attending, as I represent this board, the Florida School Boards Association planning meeting for the 2018-2019 year at Camp Weed in
I did hear you correctly,
Florida.
That is a church camp, by the way. That is an Episcopal church camp.
We'll be quiet.
So I just want you to know that the work of the board will be continuing at the state level with mosquito repellent and other pieces of needed amenities so that I can return and make an outstanding report of where we're going with the Voice of Education as we represent the Florida School Boards Association.
We thank you for your service.
Oh my gosh. How old are
Thank you,
y'all?
Madam Chair.
Jeez.
No, I'm not talking about that.
All right, thank you. Superintendent's comments.
Madam Chair, first I'd like to echo what Board Member Lewis Butler said about Oak Ridge, Pineview, and Bond. I was at all three of those schools today. Every September we go on our beginning of the school year tour to talk to principals, to see what else, how school year started, what other resources we can give them. I take Jillian Gregory and Sue Crawl and Alan Cox and Martha Fletcher with ESE just to make sure we've given them all the support they need to have a successful year. And so the one you visited today at Oak Ridge is called the Eagle's Nest.
Yes.
Yes, and it is. So they started this at Gilchrist, this rewards room for kids as an incentive for perfect attendance, for good grades, for good behavior. So now they have one at Pineview. They have one at Oak Ridge. I think they have one at multiple schools now in our school system. But you know what? I walked the halls today at Pineview and walked in the halls at Oak Ridge and at Bond. Those principals, those administrators, and those teachers are working as hard as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. And I remember I walking through the halls of Oak Ridge today, and just the thought of performance and the pressure that comes with performance and the test and the test and the grade and the test and the test. It's just crazy. It's crazy. And you walk into that school and walk the halls. You don't, when you pass by Oak Ridge, you have no idea what that school looks like on the inside. It's immaculate. You can see the love, you can feel the love, you can taste the love in that school. The only problem is they can't control what happens outside of those walls, outside of those doors, outside of that facility.
It's true.
And it's just, it kills me that the pressure these principals are under,
That's right.
especially this year. And it won't be for a lack of effort and a lack of planning. And we'll just see what happens. But you just see them working. So, and they know this is it.
Yes, they can talk about these schools, right, Mr. Superintendent?
So, anyway, but I echo, and as I continue my tour of schools tomorrow, I think I have 3 more tomorrow. Petley's, yeah, there you go. Thumbs up, Chris. Thanks. So my lunch break today was a bag of chips. Yeah, there you go. Appreciate that. So I think I blew the entrance here with Ashley. This should have happened at the beginning, Ashley. But I'd like to welcome you to the board. I don't know what it is, another female member of the Leon County School. Yeah, I don't stand a chance. But just want to congratulate you for being selected. There were a number of worthy candidates that applied for that seat, and you were chosen because of all of your accomplishments and all that you've done to represent Leon High School. And now that you'll represent the 34,000 plus students in the school system and advocate for them and tell them, it's just like I used to tell the student government kids at Leon, we're here for you. And I mean that. I'm not just saying that. We're here for you. And if there are things that we can do to improve your quality of life while you're in our public school system, that's our job. Absolutely. And I just want to say welcome. Having said that, we have a little video of Ashley that I'd like to show. So Ashley. Denver, if you're still awake in the production room.
Ich bin Ashley und ich freue mich sehr, Ihre Schulrepräsentativ zu sein.
Okay. Okay.
So I guess to most people, upon first glance, I can be kind of the quirky theater kid. Well, I can't do a very good Cockney accent, love, but I can try a little bit. I've always had this heart of wanting to get to know others. I'm all about connecting with other people.
Ashley has a heart for service, a spirit for working with others. She is wise beyond her years.
I'm the Key Club president. I'm certified fluent in German. In my sophomore year of high school, I learned to speak German in Germany. I lived there as an exchange student.
The different voices I didn't know about.
I have attended a couple different school board meetings as a member of SGA at Leon High School, as well as this past year I was able to perform with the Melodiers at the December meeting. I've never been able to just stop singing. Leon County Schools, Leon County Schools. I didn't really understand fully the impact and the job that I would have, but Dr. Gale's been super encouraging and helpful.
And so I think she'll fit right in, providing an entire experience for our other fellow students here in Leon County Schools.
I don't know why I was put in this position. Sometimes I don't really know why I'm there until after the fact, and I can look back on something and say, that's why I'm here, making impacts on people's lives.
Welcome aboard, Ashley.
That was awesome.
Very well done. Very
wonderful.
nice.
Ashley, would you like to say something in German for us?
Oh, please, English.
Without subtitles, so we'll have no
you say
idea
it in
what
German,
you're saying.
we'll let your dad translate. How about that?
I'm not sure Dad can translate.
Genau, mein Vater kann gar kein Deutsch, aber ja, also das war vor 2 Jahren, habe ich in Deutschland gelebt als eine Austauschschülerin.
I think I called Alva in there.
So, exactly, my dad doesn't speak any German, but that was 2 years ago that I lived abroad in Germany as an exchange student and learned my German there.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. You lived with a host family while you were there?
I lived with 3, yeah.
So you picked up on it a lot more probably than
Yeah, I went to German school. All my classes were in German.
Wonderful.
Some of my best friends live in Germany.
Great experience.
That was with the Rotary Exchange Program?
Yes, sir.
That's a wonderful program. So we have students in our school system that go out and study abroad, and then other students from other countries that Rotary brings to the States to be a part of our school system. So it's really a cool partnership.
Welcome.
Proud Papa, Mr. Campbell's here as well.
Yes,
So,
and we want you to know too, Ashley, you're welcome to chime in at any time on any item. You it won't take too long to get the flow of how the meetings go. And when I look down, or whoever's chair here next time looks down, and you have something you want to say, you just let me know or let the chair know, and you are welcome to speak, just like everybody else. You are one of us, so welcome to the sorority. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Madam Chair.
Not you. I was looking this way. This way.
Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Superintendent, had you finished your report? I wanted to ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am. I think I have.
Yesterday at our agenda review, you made a few interesting comments that I was really in support of, and it had to do with your having designated some retired personnel to come back and work with some current principals. You talked about that a bit, and I just need to say that I really think that is a wonderful way to use the institutional knowledge that could have been lost totally, but to bring them back and to have them work as mentors or lead friends to principals is just wonderful.
Well, I appreciate that, Ms. Bowen. In hindsight, I really wish I would have done it last year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
but I've learned. That was my first year. I was still figure out who's who, what's what. And,
I understand.
But no, I couldn't agree more. I think to have those folks that have the institutional knowledge of our school system, of leadership, because Alan and Sue are working as hard as they can to keep up with the day-to-day operations of the school. They really don't have time to mentor some of these young principals and young leaders. So. Yeah.
And we particularly appreciate all of them, but particularly down that Thorpe Street corridor. So we're happy on the way there.
And I think that's a good segue into our 23.01 status, updated lowest 300s. I'm sure that'll be touched on as well.
Okay, great.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, including student member Campbell. Welcome, Superintendent. It's my pleasure to stand before you this evening to give you an update on some of our school support plans that we have in place for what we consider our bottom 300 or differentiated accountability schools as identified by the state. And I want to take a moment to say there are amazing things happening. When we were at Oak Ridge today, the feel of the school, every school, when you walk in the door, the principals know their students' names. There's a sense of care and love. It's more than just about reading, writing, arithmetic. It's about the students having a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and a sense of support for who they are. With that in mind, we do recognize that the legislature has identified schools based on school grade performance. Those schools that are identified based on school grade performance are those schools that receive a D or an F in the school grade accountability system. Those schools enter into what's called differentiated accountability, DA. Another list that we receive from the state is the bottom 300 or the lowest 300 list. Beginning several years ago, but edited slightly last legislative session, schools that have a 3-year average that places them in the bottom 300 of elementary schools around the state in terms of reading proficiency only, that is the percentage of students who are level 3, 4s, and 5s, those schools are designated bottom 300 schools. So it is possible to be a bottom 300 school, a lowest 300 school, and not be a DA school. We have one of those. John G. Riley Elementary School is a school that is a bottom 300 school, but is not a differentiated accountability school. They were a school grade of a C. And then we have some schools that are in differentiated accountability who are not in lowest 300 or bottom 300. And so, for example, in that instance, Astoria Park in our district falls into that area. Astoria Park is a D by 1%, is the highest D possible, is a 40. 41 is a C, is a 40 percentile. It earned a D. Its reading proficiency is 47%. It is not in the bottom 300 around the state. So all of our schools receive support. Some of our schools receive more support than others, and it's based on whether they are a differentiated accountability school or a bottom 300 or lowest 300 school. So before you this evening on the first slide is what's called our tiered model of support, and you may have seen this graphic before. But of particular interest and some questions, are those schools that are our priority schools. On the next slide, the criteria for the priority schools are those schools that are a D or an F or are the lowest 300. And in broad terms, they received expanded financial resources. They have an extended school day for those lowest 300 schools as required by law. We have various data chats with district staff. We provide targeted weekly professional development, additional support meetings, and weekly leadership coaching. So on the next slide, this is provided in greater detail. We have this year at all of these schools hired additional teachers above base staffing to drive down class size. So before you, maybe the last board meeting ago, you approved the Unified School Improvement Grant application, where we stood before you and each of these schools received an allocation from the state to improve student achievement. And the way that we have submitted that grant for approval from the state is to hire additional teachers at most of these schools to drive down class sizes. So at some of these schools, you'll see class sizes of 13 students, between 13 and 17, 18 in grades 3, 4, and 5. And so those schools, and there's one school that chose not to hire teachers. What they chose to do is hire paraprofessionals. So they could hire, instead of one teacher, 2 paraprofessionals, and they were able to hire paraprofessionals to assign a paraprofessional by grade level to support pull-out and intensive intervention for those students. So one of the challenges we have faced as a district is a shortage in qualified teachers. And so where we kind of were threading the needle is finding the balance really is between hiring highly qualified teachers we want in front of our students and then also paraprofessionals who can fill in the gap when teachers are providing whole group instruction and work with small groups of students. So for the first 2 bullets, we've hired additional staff above the base allocation, which they would get to normally meet class size. We're driving down those class sizes to 13, 14. We've hired paraprofessionals above base staffing to support interventions. These paraprofessionals are separate from the professionals that are paraprofessionals funded out of ESC or IDEA. These are paraprofessionals who are trained in reading intervention or classroom interventions, and they're pushing in. There might be a kindergarten interventionist paraprofessional, a 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, all the way up through 5th grade. We have also provided flexibility to diversify and increase intervention services directly at the student level. So what that looks like at Pineview and Oak Ridge, for example, is that the principals identified a research-based reading intervention that was not part of our menu of options in years past that they felt would be an appropriate intervention for phonics. We reviewed it. It was research-based. It had an effect size based on what IES would say, which is our kind of benchmark or gold standard in terms of educational statistics. And they were given the flexibility to identify those programs, and then we funded the purchase of some of those programs through various dollars. So both of, particularly Oak Ridge and Pineview, excuse me, we don't say no, we say not yet, let's figure out a way to get there, and then within a very short period of time, our expectation is within days we're able to provide them the resources that they're asking of us to do. We've also expanded learning through the 21st Century program. We've asked them to not only work at providing enrichment, but also aligning the tutoring and the support that students receive at the 21st Century program with standards and our pacing guides. So that if a student is working on fractions in 4th grade math, that when they go to 21st Century, which is at these DA schools and the bottom 300 schools, that they get extra practice in fractions, so that we're uniting and we're creating an integrated model of support. We're really extending the school day beyond the bell with those 21st Century programs. So students who go to those 21st Century programs come into school excuse me, maybe at 7:45, 8 o'clock at breakfast, or may go, one of our schools does it before the bell program, and then they're getting interventions there, and then they're going to school all day, and at the end of the day, they're getting extended learning opportunities. But not to burn out these children, we also try to provide enriching activities, and those enriching activities are meant to close the opportunity gap that we've talked about, really, that the students are able to have hands-on science, build prior knowledge through experiences, by bringing in groups, the chess clubs that are around, that are brought in as part of the 21st Century program. Those are the kinds of enriching activities that have these really wonderful intrinsic benefits that are outside of standards and pacing. And we do that as well as part of 21st Century. And then, of course, I'm so sorry. We've provided additional learning times at the beginning of the day for some of our students. So, for example, just today we were speaking with Dr. Smith at Oak Ridge, and what they do is they've identified some of their students for really intensive work. So they've given them certain backpack pendant to wear, and so they're readily available to adults on campus. And so if they see the student walking around between 7:45 and 8:15, they grab the student and they push them in with a highly qualified teacher or reading coach to do small group interventions on phonics or on a double dosing in math. So really trying to take every possible opportunity to advance the student achievement at their school. And we've just ended the beginning part of those baseline data windows, and we are using that information to inform our instruction. So we're not assessing for the purposes of assessment and putting it away. We're having conversations. How are you grouping? What does this look like? And how does that and how is that affecting students?
So may I just ask, how is that flowing with Riley's needs and with Astoria Park's needs right now?
So they're different schools so Riley is not in differentiated accountability, it is a bottom 300 school, so it receives extended time. What that looks like on that campus is that students participate in a variety of activities, including 21st century, and then the teachers participate in what's called collaborative planning once a week, where they come together and they receive direct support from our professional developers in our district during that time weekly. And so the students are experiencing more involvement with academics over a course of a day. And so they have a 90-minute uninterrupted ELA block, an additional 60 minutes of ELA instruction that is not uninterrupted, but is maybe broken into chunks to kind of give this. So they may do recess in between them. They may do recess within the 60 minutes, and then also science and math instruction. And then they also receive with iReady, which was also brought before you this summer. And so those are some of the things. Now, Astoria Park, they received, because of their school grade differentiated accountability, was their kind of flag. And so they received school improvement dollars. So at Astoria Park, they have purchased additional teachers to drive down class sizes. They've purchased additional professional development. So they participated in some activities over the summer to strengthen their pedagogical practice. And then Astoria Park is a school that has purchased additional paraprofessionals to really provide. And if you think about the Astoria Park facility, the way they have the pods, that unified room in the middle, they're able to put the paraprofessionals in there and do small group instruction across classrooms, pulling the students out for skills support.
Okay, what are the instrument? Are the observers that go into the school?
Yes, ma'am.
What type of instrument do they use to collect the data so they can bring it back to you, so whoever bring it back to the school board?
So we have a couple of different types of people who go through our schools who are in differentiated accountability. The first one, all of the schools that are in differentiated accountability, depending on which level, they receive what's called an instructional review by the Department of Education.
You all have the same instrument, a different instrument?
The Department of Education really doesn't have an instrument necessarily. We, as a district, when we walk with them, we use our Leon Leads document.
So did we design our own instrument?
Yes, ma'am. So the document we use when we do all of our walkthroughs with our teachers is called Leon Leads. It is yes, ma'am. And it is our observation instrument. It is consistent across the district, regardless of lowest 300, differentiated accountability, or non. It is the instrument that we use K-12 for all observations of teachers. Okay. And so we use this to inform our walk when we walk with them. And so DOE, FLDOE, does not use our instrument. They do observations and they provide us feedback in that moment. We debrief and they provide compliments where appropriate and provide us with areas of thought and challenges to us to improve instruction or to do something slightly differently. And then those are the two groups that really go in. We have a group of people who are called professional developers in our district, our curriculum developers, and what they do is they go in and they do not provide an evaluative observation. What they're doing is they're going in to provide coaching, job-embedded coaching to our teachers at these school sites. So both Oak Ridge and Pineview, because of their DA status, they receive a professional developer in each of the core content areas 1 full day a week. So ELA, math, and science, they receive each of those curriculum developers one full day. So for example, Oak Ridge, Tuesday is their day. So all day they made the decision, the school leadership team, that every Tuesday ELA, math, and science developers will be on campus providing job-embedded professional development to their teachers in the day. Other schools, Pineview, I think they've split theirs. So the math person goes on Monday, for example, and then the ELA person goes on Wednesday and the science person goes on Thursday. So it looks different depending on the school principal and the school culture and what they would like to do with the developers. But each of those two schools get the developers one full day to provide direct support at those two schools because of their differentiated accountability status. The other DA schools receive the developers half a day during the week, which fills up the developer schedules Monday through Thursday. And then on Friday, the developers work out to serve all of the other schools, excluding Thursday afternoons when they go to faculty meetings and they provide support at faculty meetings. But our professional developers are the experts, the content area experts in ELA, math, and science, and they push in to each of these schools, differentiated accountability, the top two, and then the rest of them in a prioritized manner to provide job-embedded professional development to the teachers.
But they use the same instrument. The ELA, the science, and
what they do is they're not so the instrument we use is an evaluative instrument, right? So it doesn't count in the teacher's evaluation, but Leon Leads is an observation tool that we've collectively bargained. Okay. So what the developers do is they go in and they are a coach. So what they're going to go in and do is I may see students not engage. I may tick mark. Remember all the old Florida performance management system? Right. You may tick mark 9 students not engaged, or I may do a count of 9 low-level questions, 2 high-level questions. They're not doing that. What they're doing is they're sitting next to the teacher and they're asking them reflective questions to improve their competencies. So how could you have asked this math question differently? What other resources would you need? Do you think whiteboards would have been an appropriate tool to use? So what they're really doing is diving into the practices of the teacher. We're kind of giving an overview of what we see as observers, but these job-embedded curriculum developers are providing alongside the teachers, building a relationship of trust so that they can really support them and help them develop to be the best teacher they can be.
Okay.
So, for example, they may work with a teacher on think time, right? So we know that after you ask a question, we usually wait between 3 and 5 seconds before we solicit an answer from a student. Right? So it allows all students to think, and you purposely don't name a student when you ask a question at the beginning of the question. So, because when you do, it takes everybody else off the hook of having to think. Right. So you ask a question, you don't call a student for 3 to 5 seconds, and then you call a student and you say, Johnny, tell me what, blah, blah, blah. Well, sometimes a first-year teacher doesn't know that. So these job-embedded coaches go in and they work with them on things like think time, things in that area. Next slide. The other additional professional development, I mentioned this in terms of teacher professional development, is that we also offer principal and assistant principal professional development. The single greatest impact on student achievement is absolutely having a highly qualified teacher in front of them. Another significant influence in student achievement is having a highly competent and skilled administrator on campus. And so this year, what we've done differently than perhaps the year before is we're really, we've identified some of our retired principals who have been exceptional leaders in their work. Some of them have been noted as turnaround principals. They were at one of these schools, and maybe they brought the school from an F or a C to an A. A couple of them have long experiences with understanding the nuances and the finer points of school-based leadership and management. And then, so what we did is we brought 3 retired administrators in to work with our elementary schools who are in differentiated accountability. 2 of them have 2, 1 of them has 1, and just because of the workloads. And then we also asked, in a spirit of prevention, we have a couple of our middle school, our secondary schools we're kind of keeping an eye on because their data would indicate to us that if they're not moving in the direction we would hope. So we've asked a retired administrator with secondary experience to work with those administrators to kind of shore up the practices that are occurring on their campus to prevent them going into differentiated accountability. So the idea is that not only are we building capacity with schools who are currently in differentiated accountability, we're really trying to guard against any further schools moving into that type of state oversight and review.
That's good, because I was worried about our C schools. We got a lot of C's.
We do.
And they can go either way. And so we have to be very careful with C schools.
Yes.
And that's why we have to continuously make sure our C schools move up to B's. Yes. Because when you C, you're still right there.
Mm-hmm. And there are some, we've met as an academic services team with the superintendent. We've met with schools, certainly all schools that are in differentiated accountability, all schools that are in the bottom 300, and then schools that we feel are underperforming, given what the data would indicate that they should be able to accomplish. And so we've challenged all of these three buckets to really hone their skills, so that would result in improved student performance.
I like that.
And we're going to continue to do that.
Tomorrow, this is wonderful. Tomorrow, Thursday, I go to Camp Weed tomorrow, but on Thursday we will have this, y'all need to stop, this sharing session about new ideas that we are using in our district. And I was racking my brain for what is the new idea. This is it. And I think it's going to work. So I'm happy to present this as our new idea. And, an innovative approach that's going to improve student achievement and close the achievement gap. So you're answering many questions tonight. So
Jillian, what's the approximate class size now at some of these schools?
So each of these schools, it varies. So
give me the small,
like 13 in some classes. So one teacher to 13 students, and that is at some of our most needy schools in terms of fragile student learners, students who are really lower performing, who we need to really infuse resources, and so that's the teacher 1 to 13, and then they have push in with a paraprofessional to help with interventions. And then I think maybe the school that has maybe like 18 or 19 would be a big class at one of these other schools. Okay. And that is a school that chose, instead of having an additional teacher, to get a paraprofessional, because they want the paraprofessional to go with the students. So I've walked, and I can say personally that I've walked all of our DA schools' campuses, and I've walked almost all of the bottom 300 schools' campuses, and observed instruction and counted heads and made sure and questioned things like the paraprofessional, because conventional wisdom would say, I don't know about that. But what I can say is that I have observed the paraprofessionals, because they move with the students to ELA, to math, to science, that they've built relationships, and I see them being able to have a significant impact with those students. And so I look forward to the evidence, and certainly I hear you, Ms. Lewis Butler, on a report back maybe after our next progress monitoring window. We had baseline in August. We do assessments, particularly our students with intervention, by the end of the first 9 weeks, and kind of see what our numbers are looking like.
Dr. Did we do a screening or something like similar to a pre-test, like STAR, for all the students, it's particularly the students in those critical schools? So, do we have some type of instrument that can be, did we do that?
Yes, so we have a couple of different instruments depending on the content area. In science, we have a locally made and homegrown assessment that is used as a baseline assessment in elementary schools. It's placed on a platform called Unify, which provides analytics, which tells us what percentage of students are proficient in the science, who's red, yellow, green, who's good to go, what standards are good to go, what standards do we need to remediate, what standards do we really need to spend some time on. So we've done that in science, and that's called Unify. And we've used a local test to do that that's aligned to the state assessment. We have in ELA, we have STAR and Ames Web, depending on your grade level. So all students take STAR, because STAR is the assessment that we actually use to implement accelerated reader, right? So a student goes in, they answer some question, they read something, they answer some questions, they get a grade level equivalency that they can read independently. It's a color. So if you walk into a school library, in your mind's eye, if you think, you'll see like 0.00 to 0.9 red, and 1.0 to 1.9 blue, blue. And then
kids go to the library shelves and they find the red book and the blue book because that helps them work in their independent reading level. A side note, our Leon County libraries also do that, and they are wonderful partners with us. Shout out to libraries everywhere. So students can go to the libraries in both Leon County and at our school, identify AR books, and those books can be used for supporting reading development. And that's at all of our schools. And then we also offer math placement in the beginning of the school year with Go Math as part of our core curricula. And then students in K-1-2 take what's called the Ames Web Assessment, and that really identifies phonics and the ability of students to decode nonsense words, which will then help them in fluency and reading acquisition. So we do both of those things.
And if I could add, Ms. Lewis Butler, the other one that we're doing, that we do it every year, is the Flickers, the kindergarten readiness test, and we've talked to our folks to make sure we're doing it this year with fidelity so we can report back as we continue these discussions about Children's Services Council. And I know board member Striplin, and since I'm going to be at the State Board of Education meeting and Jillian's going to go in my stead to the first meeting on Friday, that we have good data to show about kindergarten readiness and where our children are and where they aren't. But these issues are surrounding majority of elementary schools for whatever reason. I don't know, and something happened with learning gains in math last year in our district, and it's really kind of, as Jillian would say, hinky. So in elementary school there are 7 boxes. There's proficiency in English and math, and then there's the science proficiency for 5th graders, and then there's learning gains in English and math, and then learning gains for the bottom 25% English and math. So the 5th graders count the most. The bottom 25% 5th grader counts in all seven boxes. So how are we identifying these kids? What types of remediation are we working on? It has to be, with these elementary schools, very strategic. In secondary, you have acceleration points you can earn. You have industry certification points you can earn. So there are other measures, and what I begged for years at a high school when it was simply on the FCAT. Well, there's a lot more to evaluate at Leon High School than just the 9th and 10th grade FCAT. What are all the juniors doing? What about AP tests? What about dual enrollment? What about industry certifications, graduation rates? And so they finally listened years later, and now they include all of those things. But with elementary, it's strictly that test. How do those kids perform on test day? There's no acceleration points. There are no points for industry certifications. So it's all based on that. So what could we do strategically to drive down, especially 4th and 5th grade class size numbers, because those are the kids with the gains, right? So that was our target, driving down, especially 4 or 5, because those are the kids that are going to determine because 3rd graders don't have learning gains because it's their first year taking the test. 4th graders do, and 5th graders do. So those are the kids that are counting the most towards that test, which is the end all and be all and all for the almighty school grade, right?
And I think it's important to note at this point, and certainly I'll remind us all during the year, but at some of our smaller schools, that bottom 25% is 8 students.
Yes.
And so if you have a small school and you have 50 students in a grade, and then you look at matched students, you're looking at between 8, 10, 12 students. 2 or 3 students have a bad day. 2 or 3 students get into an argument. Something happens on the playground, right? So so the assessment is the assessment, but when the assessment is administered, matters. And so we are aware of this, and I just wanted to put that out there. And I think the challenge that we face is, and this sounds like an oxymoron, but how do you accelerate remediation? How do you accelerate remediation in a meaningful way for children who are 8, 9, and 10 without making them hate school, hate their teachers, create dynamics at home about homework and not homework, and support them and let them be 8, 9, 10 years old and experience, like, there's t-ball if they want, or soccer, or any of these other things. And so we are. I stand before you and I humbly say, without I don't know that I have I'm a person who has a right to judge, but our principals at these schools are working so hard, and they are trying to thread that needle so that and in a really profound way, not just pushing a test and not just pushing assessment, but really using instruction during instruction time in a meaningful way, but then also letting kids be kids and do really wonderful things in and around parties and, earning rewards and experiencing that they maybe not, or a movie, or going and playing bowling and getting out of their neighborhood that they may not otherwise have the opportunity for. And so we are trying to remember that this is an important measure, but it's not the only measure. And we're trying to find that balance with both our principals and our teachers and our students.
And I thank you for making sure that the experts have experience. The one that you went back, the principals that you went back and brought aboard to help the principals that are out there trying to be, that need training and need support and need relationships, and helping them to understand the students and the environment of the school and the parents. That's something you have to understand how to talk to parents and how to treat parents.
Yes, ma'am.
And make them feel welcome. And this is what the experts going to come in and do to help these principals understand how to relate.
And they've been working with them since July.
Thank you. Bowen.
Oh, thank you. Jillian, thank you so much. I had some continuing concerns, and I think you have expressed and answered them very well for me. I wanted an explanation of the kind of corrective measures that we would be taking to make certain that the differentiated accountability that we need to show that we're where we need to be, what those actions are. And this puts us in that ballpark and in an area so that I think the public can get a better understanding of what we're doing here. One of the things that's still on my mind, though, and I think we're doing a good job when it comes to meeting the letter of the law, and I'm calling this 300 DA the law here. How does the mental health piece fit into this in a way? And I'm not talking about the money part, that we'll eventually meet if we need to, but to the extent that we look at the mental health needs of these particular children in these schools.
So when we speak about the mental health, that's not actually something that is measured by a state accountability measure.
Right.
Nor is it accounted for in the schools identified as the lowest 300. What I can say is that all of these schools receive the same services that, I'm looking at Dr. Cox, the same services for mental health that all of the other schools receive.
Okay.
And that I do believe that the leaders at the schools now, and last year to a certain extent, understand the pressure the students are feeling and are trying to find ways to provide positive outlets for them so that they are able to balance being a gifted student at a D school and making sense of that. Nobody likes to go to a school where someone's given them a label that they're not good enough. And so I think we under your leadership have principals sitting in the seats that are especially cognizant of that and are really doing work to help the affective side of education. And while I can't speak to this with tremendous specificity, I can say in our visits that we talk about it. And we drill down to students. In fact, at one school, we were talking about a student who may need a 504 plan because of some health, right? And we were very concerned because the student seemed very aware of the difference that he had and was trying to put him in the pockets. And so they are aware, and we are working those issues. And they have social workers and mental health counselors and school behavior specialists and security specialists and all those kinds of things.
That's a good answer, and it's a good way, I think, of making sure that the needs of our students are met wholesomely. WHOLESOME.
I agree. It's a good thing Board Member Wood's not here tonight. We'd be here till midnight, I think.
And the last slide before you, you've seen this before, but just wanted to provide as a refresher, is the financial above allocation that each of these schools has received through various sources to support and strengthen student achievement on their campuses. So you'll see that in your packet as well.
You do a good job, Julian. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you aboard.
All the data that you pulled together. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair,
yes,
I know
ma'am.
the hour is late. I promise I can do this in less than a minute, if you'll allow me.
Sure.
I'm not sure if it's continue or new, maybe a little of both. At our last board meeting, we, in an effort to be really proactive and provide a good service for our students and their families, we adopted a contract with an entity known as SafeBeat, which provides EKG heart screenings for our middle school students. As I said at the time, I've long been an advocate for a program like this, but that I was concerned about unintended consequences and the possibility of having uninsured children be unable to get the follow-up care that they need. After that meeting, our local one of the local pediatric cardiologists, Dr. Louis St. Petrie, who donates an enormous amount of his time and expertise to children who are unable to afford care, came to me with a list of concerns that are different than those that's one of them, but there are several issues that he has that I believe are resolvable, but that definitely need our immediate attention. And so I'm not going to ask us to pull out of the contract or anything like that, but I have asked Dr. Cox to put together a meeting between the SafeBeat folks and Dr. St. Petrie, who's a pediatric cardiologist, and the CEO of Tallahassee Primary Care Associates, who is also a member of the Leon County Schools Foundation Board. And I believe, and I'm cautiously optimistic, that that group will be able to come together around best practices for cardiology and address some of the concerns, which include potentially some liability issues for us. So I'm hopeful that that meeting will result in some best practice changes, and but I wanted to put you on notice that just in case, for some reason, SafeBeat doesn't want to work with our cardiologists that we're fortunate enough to have in this community, that I will want to bring that back for us to revisit. But I'm hopeful that that will take place quickly and favorably, and we can resolve those concerns so that we can push forward on a great program that will be only improved by this process. Thank you.
Ms. Bowen.
Thank you, and thank you, Board Member Rasmussen. I'm also aware of the concerns that have been raised by Dr. St. Petrie and Emily Millett and others with regards to this particular entity in the contract. So I'm certain that the superintendent will look carefully at what we are about to do to make sure that our students and we are as protected as we need to be before we fully undertake this particular project.
I hear you loud and clear, and Dr. Cox is meeting with all these parties on
Good.
Friday.
Great.
All right,
Thank
great.
you. And before I bang this gavel, I just want to take a minute to congratulate Ms. Bowen on her reelection.
Yes.
And to tell her, yes, that this school district, the teachers, the parents, the students, the administrators are all very fortunate to have you for another 4 years on this board.
Thank you, my sisters, and my brother down there.
Thank you. And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.